Good morning. My name is Dr. George Sparks, and this is Biblical Archaeology from the Ground Down, sponsored by Bible Interact. Maybe you can help me out. I was actually trying to design my own fashion because I figured out that if I can design my own fashion and then patent it, I can retire early, and float around on my yacht somewhere in the Mediterranean. So, what do you think? Huh? Pretty good. What do you think? Huh? Not bad for 64, right? Today we're going to talk about the fashion of the Philistines. And you're saying, what? The Philistines, aren't they the enemy, the nemesis of the Israelites? And that's true, but that's not what we're talking about. Today is the fashion of those decadent Philistines. Now let's look into this. First, a little bit of background. The Philistines first appeared in the Eastern Mediterranean in the second half of the 13th century BCE. At that time, the Egyptians and the Hittites were at power on the Levant. That's a fancy way of saying the coastal plain. The Hittite Empire centered in Anatolia, but both were weak politically and militarily. And the Sea Peoples, or the Philistines, exploited this power vacuum by invading the territory previously subjected to and controlled by both the Egyptians and the Hittites. And wave after wave of both land and sea assaults, the Sea People attacked Syria, Palestine, and even Egypt itself. And at last, the mightiest wave of the Sea People, or the Philistines, stormed south from Canaan into the Egyptian Nile Delta. According to Egyptian sources, however, including the hieroglyph account on Medinet Habu, Temple of Ramses III, dating to 1198 to 1166 BCE, the Egyptians soundly defeated the Philistines in the 8th year of Ramses III. He then permitted them to actually settle on the southern coastal plain of Palestine. There they developed their own type of hegemony, an independent political state and power. And they posed a threat to both also the disunited Canaanite city-states, or we could say the proto-Israelites in that area, along with Egypt and also the Hittites. It's during an excavation, however, at one of the Philistine cities, Ekron, one of the 5 cities of the Philistine city-states. The most interesting room was found at Ekron was called the Middle Room, or a cultic ruin. It contained a plaster mud brick bema, that means a high place, kind of like an altar, or a cultic platform preserved to the height of more than 3 feet. Near the bottom of this bema was a bench that ran around the base. It was at this location that they found 3 small objects that initially were very puzzling. All 3 were small round discs, which were convex on the top and flat on the bottom. 2 were made of ivory and were very similar, so they were supposed to be a pair. The third was made of faience, which was a ceramic coated with a glossy glaze and displayed a rosette executed in a pierced openwork and surrounded by 2 concentric circles and a leaf-like design. Incised on the petals of the flowers, there are traces of blue glaze that remained on the disc. A little research, however, disclosed that similar objects had been found at Egyptian sites and excavations and were sometimes described as bobbins or spindles used for making garments or cloth. Some people actually explained that this could be what ours was also, that was found at this site at Ekron. It was a spool, once again, used for making cloth, but more research revealed that they were wrong, and it was none of these at all. 3 of these devices, decorative ear plugs, as we'll call them, or today we say gauges, the earplugs were worn in large holes in the earlobes. Apparently, they were imported from Egypt during the 14th century BCE or the 18th dynasty. Women are shown in 3-dimensional sculptures as well as engraved relief. Also, paintings wearing large ear ornaments that were most likely these particular styles of earplugs. Some of these earliest examples of earplugs probably come from the reign of Amenhotep IV, better known as the heretic Pharaoh, or the father of King Tut. Female mummies have been excavated at Deir el Bahri in Egypt with holes of enormous proportions for inserting these devices into their earlobes. In the 21st Egyptian dynasty, the 11th and 10th century BCE, women of the ruling houses or the upper class were wearing earplugs of such enormous sizes that their earlobes were extended to mere string loops of flesh, as their mummies revealed. So, from both archaeological remains and Egyptian tomb reliefs, as well as statues, the Philistines had gained this new fashion from the Egyptians. So, if you're a fan of the ear-gauged society in our culture, just note that there's nothing new under the sun, because 3,400 years ago, the Egyptians and then later the Philistines were strutting this fashion on the streets of antiquity. My name is Dr. George Sparks, and this is Biblical Archaeology from the Ground Down. Remember to like and subscribe. Have a great day.